Hello, and welcome back to the back of the pack world of running behind. I'm Joey Metzger, your pacer on this slow running journey. And actually, today we're picking up the pace a little bit. I'm joined by good friend and fellow runner Eric Walker. We spend the time catching up, hearing about Eric's running journey, how he's a bit speedier than me, and why the heck he enjoys it so much. We also learn about Eric's several adventures at the Twin Cities Marathon, and finally we get the details on an extraordinary quest that Eric achieved, something I simply call the streak. So buckle up and get ready for a fun ride. And if you're heading out for your long run, well, you might want to think about kicking it up to tempo or threshold, because keeping up with Eric is no easy task, especially if you're running behind. Give a quick introduction to my audience. This is Eric Walker, a former friend, current friend, former co-worker. We're still friends, right, Eric?
Yeah, we're still friends. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see how this conversation goes.
Exactly. We'll see how this goes. We might not be. So he's a former co-worker. Can we say the name of the company? What is that?
I mean, the company really doesn't even exist anymore.
It doesn't.
In reality.
So we can say, you're okay if I say the name?
Yeah,
we both worked at a company called ATK that doesn't really exist anymore. We go back about 20 years almost.
Has it been that far? Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you. I know we're to remember dates and times. This is gonna be bad. We're gonna have to look stuff up. So Eric,
nobody fact check.
Former coworker, fellow runner, can I say trail runner? Is that we're gonna call you a trail runner?
I don't know. The jury might still be out on that one. We'll see.
And before we get started with anything, Eric, I mean, I'm a veteran. I am on episode number 3.
That's great.
So I have got official cold plunge opening questions.
Okay.
That you have not heard. So we're going to start off with these. Give me one word that describes you as a runner.
One word as a runner. You know, this would have been helpful if I would have been able to prepare for some of these.
I don't want you to prepare for some of this.
Yeah. One word as a runner, I think. I mean, are you just talking like what my one word of running would be?
Just top of your head, what comes to mind? One word that describes you as a runner. I'll give you mine. My wife, okay. I was telling this to my wife, Erin, you know my wife. I was telling her these questions. She said, what's your answer? I said, as a runner, my one word, persistent. That's my one word answer for me as a runner. What would be one word that would describe your running or you as a runner?
So the first word that came to mind was enjoyment. And that might sound strange because it's not necessarily anything to do with running. It's just like, I only really do it for the enjoyment.
Yeah.
Because beyond that, like, I don't know why I'm out there. There's so many other things I could do to stay in shape. People go to the gym, they're on treadmills, and you know me, that's not me. I'd prefer not to be on a treadmill as much as possible, even if it requires freezing my face off in the middle of winter.
There we go.
So I think as long as I'm enjoying it or finding enjoyment out of it, like that's my whole thing.
Great. Enjoyment. Love it. Along those lines, and maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. One word that describes you as a person, as Eric Walker, the person, one word that describes you.
One word for me as a person, I think I want to say I'm reliable. I'm a reliable person.
Nice. Love it.
And I laugh at that answer. I'm like,
no,
am I always reliable?
No, it's good. It's just, the first thing that comes to mind. My answer is, I told my wife, I think joyful. I try to be a joyful person. And there's lots of words I could use, creative or all optimistic. I'm very optimistic. But for me, it's joyful. Last cold plunge question is, why are you here, Eric? Why are you talking to me? Why did you agree to come on this silly little podcast of mine?
To support you. I think that, I mean, it's not really a word. It's not a one word, but really it's just support. Maybe it's support.
We're 2 minutes in and I'm gonna start crying. I don't even have my Kleenex out. So
I mean, if you think about it, there's a lot of running that's all just self-driven, self-motivated, but a lot of times we all need support throughout the way. And it's just like this. You asked me about it, I'm like, sure, let's go.
Love it. Before we dig into Eric's history and his running and an event I'm calling, Eric, the Streak. I don't know what you call it, but I am calling it the Streak. Two disclaimers. Number one, Eric, this is not your first podcast, is it?
It's not actually, no. It's not.
What was the first one? I assume we're legally can say the name of that podcast. It still exists, I think, right?
It does. Well, I don't know if they've recorded any new ones, but it's still out there.
Okay.
I chatted with the guys from Off the Couch on
Okay. What
yeah.
year approximately we were chatting?
Oh, we were talking about years before this happened, and it would have
2019
probably been
maybe?
2019. Yeah, that probably sounds right.
Okay.
So yeah.
Um and how did you end up on their podcast?
So there's a guy named Brendan Leonard, and I'm sure maybe you've heard of him, or maybe some of the people that listen to your thing have heard of him. He writes funny comics, and he's an ultra runner for the most part. So I was following him. I'm sure it was on Twitter back in the time, X, or maybe it was Instagram. I don't remember. But he had mentioned something about he had been doing. I think this is where it tracked. Either him or somebody he was messaging with. Well, I think it was him though, had done one marathon a week for 52 weeks. And I was like, that's really cool. And I had messaged him that and I said,
Yeah.
that's well beyond anything that I had done. And I had mentioned something about the 5K a day that I
Yeah.
was doing. Because I was like, a marathon a week to me just sounds insurmountable. I mean,
It's kind of
I've
crazy.
done a handful of marathons and I couldn't imagine gearing up again to do it the next week. But then again, I'm not
Yeah.
an ultra runner like yourself, so I cap it, at least today. So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And then
Got it.
sure enough, out of the blue, he reached back out and was like, "Hey, do you want to? I have this podcast with another guy. You want to join us?" And I was like, "Sure." So then I started listening to podcasts.
Awesome. So we will get into the streak, the accomplishment of yours that really landed you on that. Where should we start? Maybe our history. So we met, Eric. When did you start at that former company of ours, ATK? Was it 2006 or seven, somewhere around there?
2000, 2008. I actually
Eight.
just pulled it
Okay,
up.
got it.
So
Perfect.
I probably would have known you in 2008, but and I won't steal your thunder, hopefully. But we eventually sat right next to each other. Actually, I
Yeah,
guess we always kind of did, but then we were literally right next to each other cube wise. I
yeah.
think I
I don't
was right
remember if
in
that was
front of
in the
you or
old
behind you.
building or the new building.
The new building.
Okay.
So I don't remember when you started
Yeah.
at ATK, but when I started there was like the week before we moved to the new building. So it was
Okay.
literally I had a desk for 2 days and then we closed the office for like 4 days and moved.
Right. So okay. So that's kind of our where we met, and then I think you pinged me on Strava last year, maybe, and
I
we
think
kind of
so.
I hadn't seen you in probably 10 years, I suppose,
No.
because I left that company in 2015. But so let's get into your history of running. Tell me your story. When have you always done athletics? When did you start running? And I know some of this from the other podcasts, so I will try to not ask you exactly all the same questions that they did, but we have to recover some of this for my audience. So
No, that's all right. Plus, like I said, some of the answers could be different now. So
sure.
hopefully nobody fact checks too much. But yeah, I mean, I started. I guess I've always kind of I guess you would classify as a runner, especially in
Okay.
high school and stuff. I ran, probably my main sports were more running sports. Played soccer too, but like it was really cross country and I did track. Those were kind of my two big things. But really, when I left high school, I kind of stopped running for a while. I probably didn't. It's like I probably worked out with some friends. I went to the University of Northern Iowa. I think we worked out every now and then, but I don't remember really lacing up my shoes that often. Then it was 20, let's see.
What year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2004, no,
I
2003.
I thought I recalled in your first podcast, but that was like you were in college and you and your brother you signed the.
Yes.
Didn't
I
you
that
sign him up? Yeah,
Yes, that's right. See, I should have re-listened to it to remember
that's.
some of this stuff.
I
But
listened
but
to
yeah,
it.
so I did run one marathon in college. I ran the Twin Cities Marathon. And I don't
See,
I should remember this year, but yeah. I
you
think it was
went from like not running after high school, going to college, and then Boom, I'm going to run a marathon.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my thought. I don't know why I thought that. And, I forced it upon him too. And I'm sure I had told this story as well as I just signed him up and said, Hey, Matt, we're going to run a marathon together. So get
And how
ready.
did he react to that? Was he
I mean,
excited, thrilled,
I think
terrified?
uh, I think he was just kind of like, okay. I think he had been thinking about it. I think he was
Okay.
actually running more frequently than I probably ever was. Um,
Okay.
at least at that point, because he would have been out of college for like 3 years almost. We're like 4 years apart. And so, I mean, I just assumed, hey, he's up there, so why not just join in the fun? And
Sure.
yeah, signed
And
up.
had you ever run a marathon before? I mean,
No.
it's like 26 miles, Eric. What do you.
I mean, that's a great question. And to my recollection, I don't know if I'd ever even run probably over 10 miles before I signed up for that. Because I know in high school and stuff, we would run some longer ones, but I don't remember running super long races or runs even just for training. Like maybe we capped it at 10 at some point, but I doubt it. I don't know.
Wow. And so you signed you guys up for that. What did you how did you train? What did you come up with the training plan? Did you just say, I mean, you were in track, you did cross country, so you knew a little bit about training and running, but did you come up with a plan? Did you get a coach? Did your brother help you? How did you approach that?
I probably just grabbed some training plan online, I'm sure. And I think I just tried to follow it to as much of a T as I could. You know, and I don't remember what it was, but I'm sure that's what I tried to do. And I know I stuck pretty good to it throughout the summer. And then going back to school, it just all went downhill. Which, as you know, for any of those listening that don't know, the Twin Cities Marathon is always the first weekend in October, and
Yeah.
school starts in August. So I pretty much was done as of like, what was it, mid-August? Pretty much stopped running
You you
almost
were
cold turkey.
you were tapering.
Yeah.
It was just
It
a
was a
long
fast,
taper.
it was a fast taper. I mean, I do remember going out every now and then, like running maybe just a couple miles, like trying to
Yeah.
squeeze something in and just thinking, I'm sure it's okay. I'm sure I'll do fine.
Yeah, you got the base fitness going.
Yeah.
So you and your brother line up for the Twin Cities Marathon. You haven't been running much since school started. And how did that go, Eric? How did the marathon go that year?
I mean, pretty much as you would expect, pretty miserable. I mean, it was great for the first like 13 or so miles. And I will say I've only really ran the Twin Cities, so this is a little bit biased, but the Twin Cities Marathon, you always see people, which is just great. I mean, there's a small stretch in there where it's very thinned out. I don't know. Have you run the Twin Cities Marathon yet?
No, my wife's had run it
Okay,
many times. I have lots of friends. I usually would do like the 10 mile, the
got it.
same day. So, yeah.
But even then, probably for the 10 mile, you were probably seeing a lot of
Oh,
people along most of that route because a lot of it's the same. So, I mean, from that perspective, that probably carried me through what I had trained my max miles of like 13 miles at that point or whatever.
okay.
And, carried me through to maybe mile 18. And then, the wheels came off. And it was just, it was really just like, where do I stick the pain and how do I keep pushing along?
How was
It's like,
how was the hill at the end? I mean, for those
ah,
people that don't know, the Twin Cities Marathon has this famous you're down at the level of the Mississippi River, and it's not a mountain, folks. It's Minnesota, but there is a hill like Summit. You have to go up Summit at the end, and it's right at that point where a lot of people are ready to be done. How did
yeah.
that go for you?
Yeah, that was the struggle. I mean, I think I did a lot of walking on that hill. I remember at one point I was actually sitting on the curb somewhere along that. Just like I wasn't quite sure if I was going to make it any further. But it's like I
Really?
knew that I wanted to do it. So I remember like sitting down. And I do kind of wish that back then they tracked more and like I
Yeah.
wish I had a GPS watch. It would be just curious for me to see the like quick downfall in everything, of like, oh, it looks like I stood still for about 3 minutes or, 5 minutes,
See what
who
your
knows?
splits were at mile 18.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, it was pretty, yeah, it was pretty rough going, but I
Yeah.
remember coming across some people had like burgers or something they were grilling out and I was just famished. Like this is how much like I just was not ready for like that distance. I think
Yeah.
I put a lot of faith in that I was younger at the time and I was like, I'm sure I can do it. I'm young. I can do
Yeah.
this. I can do anything.
You
So
did you? I'm just. It's fun to look back at some of these races that were a while ago because now it's like there's so much information out there: training plans, nutrition, advice. I mean, there's 1,000 podcasts. Hello, what? Eric, what did you do for nutrition? Did you drink some water at the aid stations? Did they have gels? I'm sure they had gels, right?
I'm sure they
What
did,
did
but
you
I don't
do
even.
for food and drink all day?
I think I just drank water at the aid stations. I didn't carry water. Like this is how much
Okay.
of like a newbie I was, right? It was like I didn't carry water.
Yep.
I just went out and ran. I mean, a lot of people don't carry water, which is fine. But yeah, I just went out there and like I probably ate maybe bananas. They probably had more bananas
Oh
back
yeah.
then. I mean, not
Yeah,
to
yeah.
age it myself and anybody else running back then. There was probably maybe some gels, but I probably strayed away from them not even knowing what the heck I was going to get into, and
Right.
that could have probably led to other issues as well.
Sure.
But
Okay. Wow. So you get done, and how did your brother do? Did he have a good day? Was he
oh yeah, he was probably like 20 minutes ahead of me. And
okay?
yeah, actually the most interesting thing, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to do it too, was my uncle had always run the Twin Cities Marathon. He actually used to run marathons
Oh.
quite a bit.
Oh wow.
And I remember running with him when I was in high school, like jumping in a couple miles on that summit hill actually, and kind of helping push him up it. This was
Yeah.
before they really cracked down on not having other people. And I
Sure.
think I kind of threw like a long sleeve over, like I think I had a bib. I did the 5K the day before. So I kind of like made it hidden. So in case somebody looked, it looked like I was maybe supposed to be running. So I jumped in and ran like
That's-
3 to 4 miles with him and then,
you're
kind of cut
pacing
off.
him. Love it.
Yeah, just I mean, honestly, sometimes, it goes back to what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just nice to have somebody else just chatting with you. You kind of
Yes.
forget then what you're doing.
Yep.
But no, so he was running it that year as well, which I thought it
Yeah.
was really cool that the three of us were running. None of us, I mean, besides seeing each other at the starting line and kind of like warming up together, we never saw each other the entire time until the very end. I saw my uncle in front of me and I raced to catch him just because I wanted to finish with him. Now, granted, did I edge him out right at the end? I did. I don't know. I probably did it on purpose.
Oh,
I mean, he
nice.
was older than I was, so I thought maybe I should, at least get him. But I don't even know if that was even subconscious or anything. But it was
That's
great
funny.
to me because I have like the framed picture. Actually, I even have it over here. But like I have the picture of like both of us finishing at the same time, like hitting hands together.
And
It was
and
pretty
you're
fun.
slightly
So.
ahead of him.
And I'm slight. Well, what looks like happened was my foot was down on the black mat. So I don't
Okay.
know how they used to do it back then,
Did
but
did
my
you
foot was
did you
down on it
lean?
and his
Did you
was still
lean,
up in the
Eric?
air.
Lean
Yeah.
into the
I kind of was like holding him back. Actually, that's always the joke
nice.
because we kind of like were high fiving and I was coming back. And that's
Yeah.
always the joke because I was kind of pushing him back a little bit. So,
I love it. That's awesome. And I didn't mean to spend, half the time on this race, but this is great. Like I said, there's no
yeah.
rules. We're just going to chat. So you get done with this marathon, and what's your mental thought right then? I'm done. That's it. Or like I'm fired up. Running's going to be a part of my life. What happens with running after the marathon?
Well, I mean, nothing happened. And I wish I did know what was in my mind back then as far as did I think I wanted to do more, or was I just like, I am so done with this, I'm never going to touch my running shoes again? Which ultimately is kind of what happened until, later on, quite a few years later. But I don't know if that was actually my thought. I think I probably liked it, but I don't know if I was ready to do that again. And I know throughout the
Yeah.
years, and I know throughout the years since then, and not to fast forward too much, we'll get into other things, but before I ever wanted to run a marathon again, which I think even in my mind was like, I want to run one again, but I want to train right. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
the biggest takeaway I had was like, I knew I felt good that first half, plus, and I'm sure other people out there, they've had the same experiences, but like, it hit me that last bit. And, even if you're trained well, you could have ended up with the same type of thing. But in my mind, I was like, I know, I think if I trained better, I could have managed that a little bit better. So that
Um.
I don't know. And then I just didn't touch my running shoes again though for
Wow.
probably quite some time.
Spoiler alert. I know from your Strava that you've run marathons since then. We'll get to those. So let's talk about the streak. Let's get
The
into it.
streak.
So you do that, you hang up the running shoes, you graduate college. ATK wasn't your first job out of college. Probably
No,
Was
I
it?
worked for a
No.
public accounting company
Okay.
or public accounting firm before that. Which actually, this is where hindsight is always 2020. And I look back, and especially what I really like about running now, and some of that blends into some of the 5K a day stuff, but I really like exploring new areas. Like that's my
Yeah.
favorite thing about running. But I used to travel a lot for that job, and I lived in Chicago. I traveled, I would say, almost half the years sometimes, in those 4 years, but I never really ran. It's like I think of all the like strange locations that I was at, that like the missed opportunities of like running while I was there. I
Yeah.
know that's pretty much a runner, right? I mean, it's like
Y-
that's what us runners think about. It's like, all those cool trails and whatnot that I could have seen that I didn't see. But a couple of years ago, we were vacationing out in Maine. Spoiler alert, though, like I work at a company out in Maine now, but we were out in Boston for a couple days with just me and my family, my immediate family. And I woke up one of the mornings that everybody was going to sleep in, and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run the whole Freedom Trail. Because it's one of
Oh
those things
wow.
like, I mean, and I think it's like about 6 to 8 miles or wherever I
Yeah,
was
I don't
at,
think it's
but it was
terribly
one of those.
long. My wife has
No,
walked
it's
it.
not.
Yeah.
I think I kind of had to backtrack some of them just from where we were at, but I was just like, what kind of a cool thing to just do for the heck of it, right? It's like I
Yeah.
have probably explored pieces of it throughout my life. As a kid, I remember going and not being excited on it because it's hot out. It's like you don't want to walk this thing and read
Yeah.
everything along the way. But as an old adult and then running in the morning when nobody else was out, it was like, this is great.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Let's kind of talk about the streak. So you kind of hang up the running shoes, you do that, you start your professional career. At what point do you pick up the running shoes? We're going to get into the streak. The streak we're saying is
Okay.
2018, right, Eric? The streak.
Start of 28 or late
So
2018, actually.
lead us up to that.
Yeah.
I'm going to spoil it. The streak is Eric ran a 5K every day for more than 365 for a year. Every day, a 5K every day. So, and that starts at 2018. So, how did you get back to that point where you started the streak?
Yeah. It was slow going, but I think I started to run again. I'm gonna say it was 2016, maybe 2015, but just very
Okay.
infrequently. But it was something I was just like, hey, I'm gonna do this. Hey, I don't know, maybe it was 2016. And I think I was just like, I'm gonna do it a couple days a week, and just see how it goes. And silly me, I think when I really started to pick it up, and I'm sure there's dates even before that somewhere out in, either my Fitbit or now Strava or Garmin. I've been through all the watches. We can talk about that some other day. But but I think it's like I just started to do it, and it's interesting looking back. And I know everybody's been on this journey before, but I remember looking back at some of those stats when I was really getting into probably more of the streak, just as I was going back, or maybe one of the times that I was trying a new watch. And like I went back to some of those first runs, and it was like a mile and a half, 2 miles, 2 miles and a half. Like I never ran except for maybe once every couple of months, I would run a 5K, like in
Okay.
those first leading up years. And that was it. And I tried to run, say 3 days a week. I think I tried to do like Monday, Wednesday, Friday or something like that.
Yep.
Maybe, I'd shift it depending upon schedule. And it'd either be most of the time, I think then it was probably late at night, just it worked with my schedule. But yeah, nothing fancy. And my neighbor across the street actually used to run a little bit further than that. And he was always like, hey, we should go for a run. And I never really wanted to join him because it's like he was running like 6 miles, he's telling me, or five
Okay.
miles at a time. And I was like, that seems like a lot. I'm like, I'm barely at two and I run slow.
I'm not
And
ready for the
I had no
marathon again yet.
and I had no comprehension how fast he ran either. And that's
Yeah.
why I always think it's so interesting though, too. And you probably know that. It's like I will run, well, I will try to run whatever pace I can to almost run with anybody. Now, obviously, there's some people that that you'll just never be able to run with. But
Yep.
anybody that's anywhere around my pace or even slower, like I'll just run with them, just run with them. It's great. And he was probably the same way. He was like, I would just run with him. So
Yep.
finally, I broke down and I ran with him. And that probably would have been in 2018, then, before the start of
Okay.
this. And it would have been probably a couple months before. And we went out and we probably ran like maybe it was 4 miles or something like that. And then I kind of was like, that wasn't that bad, a day or so after. So then I started running just a 5K, and then maybe I did another 4 mile one. And yeah, that's kind of everything I did up until that point. That's kind of all it was. There was never a long streak of things. Most of the time, it was only maybe a handful of days a week, and that was it.
Okay. So at what point do you go, I'm going to do a 5K every day? And did it start with, I'm going to do it for a week and it just kind of snowballed? How did that start? At what day did you just like, oh, that was good, I'm going to do it again tomorrow? Or was it like, you know what? Here's the deal. New Year's resolution. I'm doing it for a year. How did it happen, Eric?
It was just a slowly coming together. It's like I think I that's where I don't even remember why that date. And I should even look, was it a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? I think it was actually probably like a middle of the week type of thing. I don't even think it was anything special. And I think I ran one day, and it probably so happened that the next day I was running again for no apparent reason. And then I just kind of kept that up. And I probably within those first couple of days, I'm sure I thought to myself, could I do this for a week? It's like, it's not that bad. I'm sure I could do it for a week. And that would be interesting to do 7 days of running because I'd never done that before. Especially, I would say, I guess back, taking us back to high school, like we used to run 5 days a week, but never more than that. Unless we had a race on Saturday, then we would do six and then we'd have Sunday off. So, like, even getting to seven, I don't know if I'd ever done that, even in marathon training before, because most of the time you always take like a day off, a rest
Taking
day
off.
at some point.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, 1 week became 2 weeks, and then it was kind of like, well, maybe I could shoot for a month. And then after a month, it was like, maybe we'll do this for a couple months and we'll just see how it goes, 3 months. And then, yeah, it just keeps
At,
snowballing after that.
at what point did you go, it's got to be 12 months, it's got to be a year? Was it at the 6 month, the 5 month? Was it like 5 months? You're like, okay, I'm going to do 6 months, but damn it, I'm doing a year. I'm because obviously when you get to a year, spoiler alert, I mean you run for a little bit more, but there was a point where you're like, okay, I did it. At some point you're like, this has got to be a year.
I want to say it's probably got to be, I don't remember exactly. And again, this is where I wish I would have wrote more things down. I feel like it had to have been over a half a year because I feel like in my mind and just the way that I think things through, I feel like I would have gotten close, like a half a year, 6 months would have been like another target point, I feel like, of just like, oh, if you can get to 6 months, great, that would be another win. And then I'm sure once I hit that, I was like, could I do this for another 6 months? It
Wow.
probably at that point, then I'm sure it would have been a doubling effort because every number after that, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, like nothing really sounds right. At that point, then it's just like you got to go all in.
It's a
Otherwise, like
nice,
the first ones, it's like 1 month, 3 months, then it's got to be like six
yeah.
months. Maybe 4 months could have been okay, but
It's a
yeah,
nice round number, 12 months.
exactly.
It's
Nice
easy.
round, just
You're a
like just
finance
like a
guy. You like you like digestible numbers,
yeah.
right? 12 months. Why the 5K distance? That was just because that's kind of what you were doing once a week, and you thought, why did you choose 5K? Like, not, I mean, I see on Strava, and I want to get your opinion on this at some point about all the, it's kind of a recent thing, everybody doing the
Yeah.
RSDs, the run streak days, but why'd you choose 5K, 3.1 miles? What was,
I think it felt like more of a feat at the time. Um, I don't know. And maybe it's because it was just outside of always being like in my comfort zone. So I think then when I started it, I think it just made sense to just like that's the marker. And again, it's like, I mean, everybody that does run streaks, and we can kind of start to get into that if you want. But like I know a lot of people do it different ways. And even like, just the spirit of getting out and running. I think most of the peoples that I've seen, and maybe a mile at the minimum.
yeah, that's
Um,
what I've seen too.
and
It has to be like a mile
and I
minimum.
mean, that could have probably worked too. And so I don't know why I picked 5K. I think at the time it was just like maybe I'd already known, maybe I knew about run streaks then, and I just didn't. I can't think back that far. And maybe I knew that people had already done 1 mile once, and I was just like, 5K seems different. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it just happened just kind of
yeah,
naturally, just because it just made sense. I think I was at that point in my running where it's like a 5K seemed right to run. And so I
yeah.
felt like that should just continue.
It's a very digestible number. It's
Yeah.
easy to
I,
digest. Nice
Most people
round
know what a
number.
5K is, right?
Yeah,
Or they've heard of
absolutely.
like 5K races, walk around races, so it's like everybody can kind of like put that as a marker versus it doesn't come off your tongue as fast saying like I
Right.
ran 2.5 miles.
Right. You're right. So was it always 5K? Did you ever like, oh, I'm going 4 miles, I'm going 8 miles? Did you ever go
I,
farther than 5K?
I don't think I ever went farther than like 4, maybe 5 miles, but that
Okay.
was very infrequent.
Okay.
Most of those times some of the times I would hit, a lot of times I would hit like 3.5 miles. And so there's actually a nature preserve just north of my house. And if I cut through it, which is they have like a trail that kind of cuts through it. So if I do that full thing, I think I end up right about at 3.5 miles if I
Okay.
take the most direct path through it. There's like one way that you could add a little bit extra mileage. And and yeah, so it was always a nice thing, especially in the summertime, to like run on these boardwalked areas. And most of the time, it's not very well traveled, anyways. So you just kind of out there. It's probably the closest thing I could get to that's near my house that I kind of felt like I was just in the middle of nowhere.
Right. Was there any I think the answer is yes. I'm trying to recall. Was there any were these all just runs or was any 5K races mixed in with this?
I did a couple 5K races. I want to say
Okay.
only two, but it could have actually ended up being three. Yes, I think
Okay.
it was three. I did one that was here local in Eden Prairie. I don't remember the name of it. Uh, might come to me later. And then I
Okay.
did a run for the kids that's in St. Paul. And then the last one was the Turkey Trot in Chanhassen,
Turkey
which
trot.
was pretty
Okay.
fun. You got a donut at the end. You can't beat that.
Yeah. Yeah. I love races. I do. I mean, as people will learn, I do a lot of these trail races just for the aid station food. But I'm not the only one. Uh,
Yeah.
so you're are these like the fastest 5Ks you've ever done in your life? Those three races because you're like training, doing a 5K every day. Did they end up being, or have you done faster since? Or
I don't know if I've run any 5Ks since, or
okay,
as a
race.
race,
Okay.
race. I don't think I have.
Were they pretty
Um,
peppy, or were you just kind of like, I just need to get my 5K in to keep the streak alive? I'm not going for the podium
um,
here, or were you pushing it?
each one had kind of its own little nuance. So the first one that I did, yeah, I wish I remembered what that local one in Eden Prairie was. They actually had a race thing and everything, which it was kind of a small one just around um, the one of the lakes here. Uh, but I ran with a friend for a while, and then he was going to run with his family that was also doing it because there's kind of like a family fun run too.
Okay.
And it was like a rainy Memorial Day. And so then and he was like, why don't you just go ahead? So probably for the last mile, I kicked it in and saw what I could do. For the turkey trot one, I did try to give it probably more of my all, but it was just completely a sheet of ice outside. Like I
Oh,
vividly remember all of us trying to run up this hill and it was just a sheet of ice. And like people were just like walking in the grass. But after you pass that part, it wasn't all that bad. But it's like you're a little nervous then from then on out. Um, and then the one in St. Paul, I feel like I really tried to give that one a go too. I'd have to go back and look and see which one is the fastest. Now you do have me curious, but I'm
yeah,
sure those were faster than any of my just going out and doing 3 miles.
awesome. Yeah. Now I imagine you had some rules, like you. I'm a walker, so when I'm out running, I take my walk breaks. You probably had a rule that you couldn't walk. You had to run the whole thing, right?
I mean, I don't know if I had a rule. I think I
Just did.
just did. Yeah. I mean, I will say though, I mean, to that token, and even today, and you probably know this about me. I mean, I stopped to take pictures of things. I don't know. That's again, it's just like I
Yeah.
enjoy that. It's something it captures the moment. I've been pretty diligent about that actually over the course of the last year specifically. But I did that even then, but maybe less frequent. So like I would stop, take a picture, then continue on.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just all like heads down. I'm going to do it as fast as I can, be done. You know.
Right. Yeah, that's me too. Well, even more so than you. My wife and I were up at Lutzen this weekend. I told you that, and We brought the cross country skis that I bought us. We didn't; they never got touched. We rented some snowshoes. We love the
Huh.
snowshoes. They're very. We think we found our thing, and we're hiking up, on the Superior Hiking Trail, and my wife's going to town. She's just like, wham, wham. I'm like, honey, we can stop and take a photo. It's okay. I stop a lot when I do my stuff. Now you're doing your 5K a day. Is it like, are you a stickler? It's got to be 3.1. Can 2.9? Or
It's
what are the
got,
rules around the distance? Are you a pretty stickler for that?
oh yeah. It had to be a 5K. I mean,
Okay.
it could be more than, but it couldn't be less than. In the random places that I would run. Around my house, it was pretty easy because I knew exactly kind of what that 5K
Yeah.
was. But as I was in other places and, at kids' sporting or kids' activities and stuff, like if I dropped them off at the gym, dance, or at the hockey rink, and like if I would go out for a run and if I would get back and it was 2:09, you for sure would see me running the parking lot until I hit it.
So,
And it just what is what it is. I mean, I want to say that that's just a shock, but I can even tell you today, and I don't know why. I would be curious about all of your listeners, and even you too, how often you get to a number and you have to hit that number,
oh yeah.
so you just keep circling. I think it's just
Yeah.
ingrained in all of us.
I think so too. It's just, yeah. There's just something about it's like round. It's a round
Yeah,
number. It's like if I'm out, I'm like, oh, I might as well just I'm going to 5, going to 5 miles, or whatever.
yeah.
You had
Which
young kids. You have young
I
kids.
did.
How the hell are you doing this, Eric? How are you running a 5K every day? You're taking your kids to like sporting events. Are you like driving them in your shorts and you got your Nikes on and your running shorts and there you go off to basketball. I'm going to do my run. How does
Yeah,
that
I mean
work?
that was probably one of the biggest things I learned that year. And to kind of back up when you think of that time, I can say now, like I work from home every day now because the company I work for is out of state. And I think that even now some people have some time more at home, so that makes it a little bit easier, I'll say, even from my own perspective, to get runs in. But then, I was showing up just like when you and I would be going to the office, to ATK. It's like I'm showing up at like 7:15,
Yeah.
staying until almost 5. So it's like to try to find the time to do it, you kind of had to get creative too. And I think to me it was always a barrier in my mind. I think I made excuses for that of why I
Yeah.
never ran as much as I did. Um, so yeah, I had to get creative. At first, it was kind of just every morning, every night late. And then I kind of started to think, could I do something better with, say, time sitting around? Not that I don't like watching my kids' activities. So to be clear, I never missed an activity of theirs if it was an actual activity. But for a lot of like the practices and stuff, especially like dance, parents aren't really allowed in there. Even basketball, like there's no reason for me to sit there and watch. I'm not critiquing the
Practice. We're
coach.
talking about practice, not a game.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a lot of my kids' practices and stuff early
Yeah.
on, but I just started to realize I stand there for, the hour plus of these practices. And it's not wasted time per se, but it is time that I could do something else versus probably most of the time I would default to scrolling on my phone, like most of us probably would.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm an outlier in that, but so I think it was just like, you know, almost getting that switch flipped in my brain of like, could I make that time more useful? But then some of that is you got to be prepared for that. You got to have, like you said, I
Yeah.
kind of show up either ready. I'm pretty much showing up ready to run, or I have to have a bag packed and like ready to run.
That's awesome. So you're doing this and you run mostly I do a lot of treadmill as you know. You're doing 99% of these runs are outside, right? In the
Yep.
middle. Guys, we live in Minnesota, Eric. So like you're running, it's below zero. I assume you're out there running, or was there like, oh, it's below zero. I'm gonna do a treadmill what were you doing on the really bad days? And what was the worst day? I want to know the worst day where you were like, what am I doing?
So that year, I will say, thinking back, I was fortunate enough that my son was in travel basketball at the time, and they do it up at the Eden Prairie High School, and there's actually a track up above it. And there was another dad that, so we actually would run outside sometimes. And when it got really bad, we would run inside. So he kind of, that was like a help to motivate. Now, our practices didn't always align because our kids weren't on the same team. But like if we were there together, and I mean, track running, no offense to all the treadmill runners, and I'm sure I'll do more treadmill runs in my future at some point, but like an indoor track is maybe a step above the treadmill, but not that much. Like they're both kind of terrible. Sorry. So
No.
yes, most of the runs were outside. But yeah, so I mean, I was running in really cold days, probably colder than I should have been out there. But a lot of the times I found it's not too hard to dress for it. It's just a matter of how long you're going to be out there. And that's where probably the 5K was about perfect because, at least at the paces I was running then, and it's even slower now, but like I could probably be done with my outside running within 25 minutes or less.
For the whole thing?
So for the whole thing,
Uh,
like
uh,
from start to
okay.
finish, like
Okay.
around
Dis-
25-ish minutes. Now
disclaimer
this was
number
back
disclaimer
this
number two. Eric Eric is not a back of the pack runner. He is. We'll get into that. He is what I call front of the pack. And that is okay. Eric, all are accepted on this
I,
podcast. In fact,
I'm
we look up to you and admire you. But so 25 minutes is how long it takes you to do your. That's pretty impressive. In my book,
so
that's. I know some people will be like, "Oh yeah, that's average." In my book, that's pretty good, Eric. That's 25 is pretty quick.
I will say it is interesting looking back at some of those stats sometimes because I will run across, like, especially if I do like a 5K now on some of those routes that I said. And the one advantage of Strava, it always tells you like the history of all of these. It's crazy how much faster I was getting on a lot of those 5Ks. And I mean, maybe it was watch data error. I'm not sure, but I think it was just so ingrained with like this is what it is, and this that like you need to get it done in about 30 minutes. Like that's what I always allotted myself, right? So it's like
Yeah.
from to just try to make sure you were kind of done in that amount of time, and then it doesn't eat up a lot of your day. Whereas now I run some of those same routes, and it's like you can just see I'm just decreasing in the speed category, which is fine
Just
for me. Like I've never done it for speed. It was just
yeah.
more, and I never even really looked at my speed back then. So it's kind of interesting to me to kind of look back now that more data is out in like Strava and places like that to be like, wow, I actually was running at a clip that I wouldn't have thought that I would have ran that at because I'm
Yeah.
nowhere near that anymore.
What did your wife think about this? How did she? I mean, you're like doing all these crazy runs. What you were running at night after the kids? Like, what did she think? Was she think you're crazy or what?
I don't know. I never really asked her what she thought about it. And honestly, I don't know if she really knew that. I mean, as you saw from the buildup of like how I was running these, it really just seemed like, well, every day he's just running, or
Okay,
like, she probably didn't always put two and two together that like
sure.
there was so many days. And it wasn't like I was making the proclamation like, hey, I'm trying to run a 5K every day. So like I need to get a run in today. It was just that's where early on, I think it was just kind of happening so naturally, just doing it. And then, then it just became so repetitive. I think she only just thought it was really crazy when I was out and it was freezing outside. But as I probably mentioned on that podcast, she really doesn't like running. It's not really her thing. She'd rather
Yeah,
go sit on go do the bike or do like walking on a treadmill inside. Doesn't necessarily want to go for a run. I get it. That's not everybody's cup of tea.
yeah.
So from that and then running outside in the cold weather, I seem like a crazy lunatic, probably.
So, did you at any point when you were done? Did you say, "Honey, you know what I just did? I ran a 5K every day." Did you ever tell her that that's what you
I
accomplished, or did it come up at some
I
point?
no, I think I did mention it. Yeah, I think I did mention it at the
Was she
very end.
impressed,
I'm
or was
sure she
she?
was. I'm sure she was. But it was one of those things, though. Even when it ended, and I think I probably even talked about this on the other podcast. But even when it ended, like I was just kind of like, all right, well, it's time to go to work. Because I mean, it was just one of those. That's the one neat thing about running. A lot of it is so much internal achievement
Yeah,
versus like external achievement. Because it's like
yeah,
I run because I want to run. I can run as fast as I want, as slow as I want. It's like the only person that I'm going to let down is myself. Like, I mean, other people could be bummed, for whatever reason, but like at the end of the day, I'm just doing it for myself. So
Yeah.
if I run really fast or if I run really slow, to me the win was just to get out there. So
Awesome.
after I did it, I was just kind of like, hey, this is cool.
That was
I
fun.
can put I can put that in my like, I did one of these weird little feats of just like, it's one of those two truths and a lie thing. I can say that and somebody would be like, nobody really did that. That's got to be a lie.
Tell your kids. So at some point, I think you said it was a couple weeks after a year, you took a day off. What was that like? Was it like, what am I doing? Did you feel guilty? Was it weird to like just
It
not do it?
it for sure felt weird. I don't know if you have this feeling even today. And I've noticed that even I don't know if it's because I just ran so much during that time, but I even find today some days when I don't run, I kind of just get antsy, especially if it's a nice day. Like if it's a freezing cold day, I can be okay with not going out anymore. Or if it's super hot in the summer, I'm okay with it. But we have some really nice days here in Minnesota. And when you have those nice days, and if it's a day that I thought that I was going to take a rest, I get very antsy, like I want to go out and enjoy the weather. And running is my easiest way to do it because it's
Yep.
more than me just like, walking, maybe a mile with my dog or just being in the backyard. Like running, I can go somewhere else that's not right around my house.
Got it.
So I think that was the feeling that I even felt then. It was just, I just felt antsy all day. Like I didn't do what I was supposed to do because I'd been doing it for so long.
Got it. So you get done with the streak, you take a day off, and then what? Now you've been running since then pretty consistently, right? I don't. I mean, I've
Yeah.
seen I've seen your total mileage on Strava, and you do way more miles on a yearly basis than I do. So you're running pretty steadily. What do you since then? Have you like are you at 3 4 days a week, 5 days? What do you try to do now? Obviously not 7 days a week, but what do you try to do now
Um,
for your running
I don't know.
training habits?
It's hit or miss. I'm probably the worst person to talk to about training anything. I think in my probably since that time, I would even say starting in 2021, when a different friend of mine convinced me to run a marathon. I have since trained for 6 marathons and ran two.
What? Wait a minute. You have run so you do the one marathon, the next marathon is in 2021? That's your going to be your second marathon? Or no?
So well, I guess that one back then. So since 2021, I've maybe trained for 6 marathons, but yet
Okay.
I've only really ran 2 marathons
And
in
and
that time
why
frame.
why did we DNS did not start?
I never signed up for him. Is probably
Okay.
probably the easiest answer. So he was always training for grandmas, and then we
Oh
did the
yeah.
Twin Cities. So we did that 2 years back to back. I think it was back to back years.
21 and
Um,
22.
21 and 22.
Okay.
Yes. So then that reminds me, I ran the the Twin Cities Marathon the first time in 2001 because
Okay.
2021 would have been exactly 20 years
20
later.
years.
And it
Nice.
should have been like the 40th year because I ran the 20th
Okay.
and that should have been the 40th. But because of COVID, the 40th was actually the following year. So
Ah,
then that was always my joke why I had to run it the next year. So I have the 20-year medal and the 40-year.
nice.
Um,
You know
but
what all those are, Eric, those intervals? They're nice digestible numbers.
exactly. It's all back to
Right. It's all back to the numbers. So you run it again at 21, and then you come back the next year and run it. But you've like trained for marathons, but you just run the two after that first one, right?
yeah. Yeah.
I've seen your times on the 21 and 22. Those are pretty darn quick. We're we don't have to.
They're okay.
I mean, we're already at getting close to 45 minutes, 50 minutes here, and I know you've got stuff to do today, but you were pushing it on those ones in 21 and 22, those marathons.
Yeah.
Obviously, you trained for them. You were ready for them. You didn't die at mile 18 and walk up Summit Avenue, did you? You were pushing it.
I didn't. I will say for the first year, so each one kind of had its own different little journey. And kind of talk through it pretty quick. But for the first one, it was really back to my original marathon. And my whole thought was, I want to actually be trained and run it. Now, my biggest fear was that, like, I think there was that mental block in my head of like, it's going to be miserable again. So your goal is to finish, to start this,
Yeah.
this trend again of like, I can do it. Even though the guy that I was running with at the time, he was like, that doesn't really seem like a good goal. He's like, I run with you all the time. Like, you should maybe set your sights on something different. And I said, okay, my goal is to at least beat my last time, because I was like, I should be more trained. Granted, I was younger, 20 years younger, but I should be able to at least beat that time. And that was kind of it. So I actually finished that first one in 20, or I guess it's my second one overall, but in the one in 2021, and I actually felt good. Like at the end, I felt like I could have pushed it more if I really would have wanted to. Um, so then the next year when it came around and we kind of did it again. Now he trained for grandmas again. So like again, I kind of went through a training cycle in the spring and
Okay.
then the one for the fall. But that time I want to say I just started my new job and things kind of went a little haywire because like we got a little busy, so my training was a little bit rougher than like the first one, so I might have not been as diligent. Um, so everything went pretty good up until pretty much Summit Hill again. And then I could feel it. Because I had probably gone out way too quick and I could definitely feel it. I'm sure if I looked back at those stats, it would just be a downhill spin. Now, granted, I actually did maybe like 30 seconds to a minute faster, so to me, I was like, that's a win. But when I got done with that, I felt a world of difference from the year before. Like
Yeah.
that's where it's just sometimes it's so interesting. Like training really does, it really helps on the recovery side. Like, granted, I probably
Uh,
pushed it too hard on that last mile for that second, year. But yeah, it's,
yeah.
but
And I can put a link to your Strava in here, and people can go check out your fastest marathon times. But folks, it's pretty impressive. It is very impressive for me, anyways. Like I've said many times, my wife used to run marathons, and she ran the Twin Cities many times. And your time in 2022, I think, is close to her fastest time back in her prime. So it's pretty quick, Eric. So, what are your current running goals? Just to run to enjoy it? Are you like, I want to do a marathon again? What do you have for like goals? Or maybe you don't have any. You're just like, I'm just going to do it and we'll see what comes up. What are your current plans?
I don't really have any plans right now. That's probably my worst trait for running. And maybe that goes back to a lot what we were talking about at the very beginning around the words and all of that. Because I don't make good running plans as far as like I want to run XYZ race or whatever. Um, I Some of it is, and maybe this goes back to, just the planning of things. Like if I sign up for a race, and I think I was telling you this once too, I am then like committed to a day in advance that I don't know if I can actually commit to. And the worst thing for me would be to sign up for something and then feel stressed about doing it, right? Because it's like maybe a kid's going to have an activity, and I love watching my kids do activities. So it's like the last thing I want is that I signed up for a race and now I'm going to miss it, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So hence that's why when I hit you up this last fall to
Yeah.
do to do a race, I had only signed up like that day or the day before because I knew I
Yeah.
was free that morning.
Yeah. Exactly. Some of you folks will know Eric, that was your second year doing it. It was, what do they call it? He calls it
Yes.
the Trout run. What the heck
The
does he
Trout
call
Brook
that thing?
10 mile, which
Trout
we should get,
Brook 10 mile. Yes.
which we could quick spend some time.
Yeah, let's
I don't
talk
know.
about it because you ran it in 2023. You called me. I had just finished Storm the Day. I was not in shape. I was out there for 8 hours. I did 26 miles. I'm like, oh, that's a nice round number,
Yeah,
26.2. I
yeah.
will stop now. And then like 2 days later, you're like, you want to run this 10-mile race? And I'm like, what? Sure. So yeah, tell me a little bit about that. Why you chose that one, and how your day or your days went in 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, so I stumbled across this race the year before you and I ran it together. And I I had run, so we used to own an RV, and we camped at that campsite a ton. So I had kind of traversed around there a little bit in the times that we always stayed there. And I love the area. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's like it's a great trail. Honestly, it's a lot tougher trail for me than because I mean, what I typically run. I mean, as far as around here, like the hills around that waterfall really
Yeah.
kicked me. Probably both years. But so that's how I stumbled across it. I was looking for a trail race that year before because my friend, he had had some surgery, that this other guy that I always run with. And so we didn't run anything that whole year. And I was kind of just itching to want to do something. And that's where, probably to your other question that I've been avoiding, is I would like to get more into trail running.
Yeah.
And this was like, seemed good because I've ran there before. I've ran on some of those trails. I didn't do everything when I used to camp there. So I was like, well, it's a neat place. It's not that far from the Twin Cities. It's maybe like an hour plus
Yeah.
from my house. So it's not terrible. The weather was great.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of how I found it. And then, you know,
You had a
twisted your
pretty
arm.
good
So
day
then
in 2024. Tell us
it,
about your
it
day, because it's like I made a
well,
movie of it. You guys can. I'll have a link to my YouTube channel, and I think, what did I call it? Doesn't
I
matter.
remember you had the motorcycle in it,
I
I
had the
think.
motorcycle. Thank you. I'm
Yes.
thinking of the
I don't
other
remember
race
which
I
one it
did out
was
there,
though.
the 20-mile race in the spring.
Oh
Which,
yeah.
by the way, there you go. You can go the other direction, Eric. So you call me up. I show up. I'm doing a movie. I got my camera out. We're joking around before the race. I'm like, "This is my buddy Eric. He's a friend of the Packer." Because, yeah, I know you're pretty quick. And I'm like, "I'm a back of the Packer." I see at the start line, and that was it. I didn't see you again. By the time I was done, you were home with the kids watching their swim meet or something. You were already back home by the time I finished. Tell us about your day real quick. I know you had
Uh,
some issues, but you had a pretty damn good day.
yeah, it was a good day. I mean, I think it's nice. Like, there's not a ton of people that probably sign up for that, so that helps. But yeah, I mean, the lady that won it, she knew exactly what she was doing. I mean, I was in front of her and the other guy for a while. Um, and then not long after I tripped and fell, which we can get into that, but not long after that, then I was behind them, and pretty much then they just kept creeping it up. I mean, they knew what to do on the hills, and I'm still clueless. It's like it actually, the interesting thing was, I at one point, going up one of those steep hills, the lady, I don't remember her name, but she was walking up the hills, and I was like, yeah, I've always heard that's the best way to do it for some of the really steep inclines. So I was
Yep.
like, I'm going to do this. But then it's like my body doesn't know how to shift after that. And then it's just like I was trying to get started again. And then it's
Yeah.
like a downhill. And it's like I'm fearful now I'm going to fall again. I wouldn't have been able to catch them, but it was a fun day. It was a beautiful day. So I take it as a win. But yeah,
Eric, folks, and I just looked up the movie Eric. It's called 75 Miles an Hour because it's
there we
like
go.
10 miles in 8 minutes. It's an 8 minute movie. Very, very clever,
There you
Joey,
go.
on the title. But yeah. Spoiler alert: Eric finishes third. He took third place. I finished third from last. So I took third place too. But
See,
we
there you
both
go.
took third place.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was really fun. And I think I'm totally serious, Eric. I think you should do the Willow, the 20-mile race in the spring. Same group. You just go clockwise instead of counterclockwise, and you
Got
go
it.
twice. That's all.
Okay.
You rock that. Maybe
Is it an actual 20 mile, or is it just
yeah.
shy? I will say that's the
Uh,
only thing that bothers me about that race is it's not exactly 10 miles. I don't know if you
depends what
noticed
kind of watch
it.
you're wearing. I don't know.
No, 2 years in a row. Like, so the first year it was closer to 10 miles for me. And my buddy
Okay.
that came there that year, we were like, we should have just kept running for a while. But this year, I had toyed with trying to make sure I hit 10, but I think I was still like, I don't know. I want to say it was like 9.78. Like, it didn't, or maybe it was 9.75 miles. And I was like, that's not close enough for me to just want to keep blowing through this, you know,
Did you run
their
around the
sheer.
parking lot like your kids when you're doing
I,
the 5K
yeah,
to get
I
the
should
extra
have.
mileage?
I should have. But then it feels kind
Uh,
of weird because there's a
yeah.
real finish line. So I
Yeah.
just stopped. But
Yeah.
so I always, people that have seen that I've ran that, they always joke it's like the not real 10 mile race. But
The almost
it's
10
it's
mile
a
race.
great event though. So I
It
won't
is.
I won't poke fun at them. I think that they do a good job of putting that on.
They do. It's St. Croix Running Company. I ended up doing 3 of their events last year. The other one, I think you would have fun. Well, for you, it's always going to be last minute, but he does an event in the fall, which is like 4 hour. Is it 4 hours or 8 hours? You can
Mm,
choose. It's south of Hudson, but it's like this mountain bike track. It's really cool. It's up and down and nice views, and you just run as much or as little as you want. So maybe these timed events might be your thing too, because it's like run as much
yeah,
as you want, be really fast, really slow, then go see the kids or whatever. But I am
yeah.
going to try, I am here to convert you to become full-time trail runner. That's why you're on the podcast.
Yeah.
Do you have, so you like to run, you do run trails as part of your, like weekly routines of running. I see you,
Try to find some trails. Yeah.
you get on some trails. You want to do, is there like an ultimate distance you want to do? Like me, I'm like, like I've said, I'd like to do a 100-mile race before I turn 60. We'll see. I might try to do the Zumbro, as 50-miler race this year. Any interest
Is
in
that the
doing
one that's
that
coming up?
with me? Yeah.
Is
I
that the
haven't
one
signed up for
in
it yet,
April?
though. I'm
In
scared.
April?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
scared. The reason I want to do it is because they give you 18 hours, Eric. So I could
Mm,
like almost walk jog that and be okay. Any interest in doing that with me?
maybe. I could
Okay.
maybe do that.
50 miles.
Well, I have
What's the
to,
farthest you've run? Is it the marathon distance or have you gone
yeah.
50K?
No, 26.2
Okay. Well, this is perfect.
or
Like
whatever it rounds up to be after that.
when you did the marathon, you'd only run 13 miles. So I think the next logical distance for you is 50 miles, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just jump it up. I I will say I am real curious about like, how people train for some of these. And I think that's always my Achilles heel in that aspect of like in my mind, I feel like it's a feat that I would like to do over the next handful of years is definitely run further.
Yeah.
And you and I probably haven't chatted about it too much, but I know in running with the other guy that I run with all the time, his name is Bob. I should probably just say that. But what I found is we always get to talking about like running, like slowing down the pace, to run farther because it's like he even knows a lot of
Yeah.
people he knows that they're much quicker than me by far. Like they're running like 9 to 10 minute miles like as their normal, just like as they're running, just out and about training. And then all of a sudden they'll run like a, you know, really low like 3:15 marathon or something like that. Like they'll just drop it down. It's just
Wow.
like no problem. And I guess in my mind, that's where it's like I'm always stuck in this like I don't know if it's because of like trying to find the time to do those extra miles that like
Yeah.
something in my brain clicks and I say I need to get done in an hour and a half. Whatever I can do in an hour and a half. Probably back to your time runs. Maybe I should try that first. Except for I
Yeah.
think my only fear with some of those is like I'm gonna go out and just kill myself because I'm not good at I'm not good at pacing overall. Like you can
Yeah.
look at my Strava things and it's all over the board. Like I mean there's kind of a consistent thread in there and that's probably the problem is like it's just too consistent that middle number that like it doesn't almost
Yeah.
matter what I'm running if it's 3 miles or 10 miles it's like I'm in that middle number zone
Yeah.
and I need to
I,
break that.
yeah. Exactly. Get to a nice
Not faster.
round number.
I need to go slower. That's what I always
Need to
tell
go slower.
myself. I
It's
know.
very true, and there is. I do a lot of, as you know, I do a lot of treadmill stuff. Lucy Bartholomew, who is a ultra runner from Australia, and she's been very successful in her career. She has a series on iFit where she runs the Transalpine. This is
Okay.
something you should do. We should do together. Where it's you run across the Alps and you run for like 7 days, and each day is like a 15 to 20 mile run. It's kind of crazy.
Hmm.
But
Wow.
as she's doing this, she is hiking up all of the steep inclines like we're talking about. And she
Yeah.
says it's important for you to train to transition from walking to running. So I think maybe
Yeah.
you could add that to your repertoire of figuring out how to change those speeds because like I do it all the time because I got to take walk breaks. So I'm like, yeah, it's no problem. I got that down. Change the speeds, no problem. I go from slow to a little fast. Yeah, no problem.
But I
Um,
think that's a good skill though. I mean, like
yeah,
I know a lot of people, like even my cousin, I ran with her before too, and she does the like Where it's like you run for so long and then you walk for a little bit, then you run for so long. And she does like, the 10 mile for the Twin Cities as well. And like she'll do some of those. And I remember running with her once and it's just so foreign to me. And it's not that
Yeah.
like because I feel like I need to go faster or anything. I think it's just like the starting and stopping just like really disrupts because I'm just so into like I'll just go out there, I'll put a book tape on and I'll just kind of find a pace that feels good for what I think the day is worth. And then I just go. To the same sense, I don't do like tempo runs. I don't really do faster runs. I don't do extra slow runs. I just have one speed.
Yeah. Yep. We should probably start wrapping up a little bit, but I do have some final questions for you.
Okay.
And this came from Strava buddy, Graham Ward from the UK. He's like,
Okay.
I think you should ask this, and I kind of like it. So, for my guess, I'm going to ask you your 5 critical or favorite pieces of gear to do a run. And it can be anything, Eric. It can be nutrition, your shoes, your sunglasses, your watch, your water bottle, whatever the heck you think
Hmm.
is critical for you to have your 5 favorite things to have to go on a run.
5 favorite things to have
And
when
it
I
could
go
be
on a run.
5 pairs of shoes. You could do like, it's
I,
shoe number 1, shoe number 2. I don't care. It could be anything.
yeah. Let's
What?
not get into how many pairs of shoes I have. That
Oh
that could be a
gosh.
different problem. Um, I would say, I mean, my shoes are important. I don't have like a
What?
favorite pair.
Okay. What's it?
Right
What's your
now I've been
brand? We got a brand you've been wearing lately?
right now I've been running wearing Brooks.
Okay.
Uh, I've been in the Ghosts and the Adrenalines right now.
Okay.
It's amazing that I'm actually remembering this. I was fearful you'd ask me some gear question that I have no
And
idea
this is
about
this is
because
this is not. I don't really care brands and models
um,
and all that stuff. Just curious, your like shorts or what kind of socks? Is there stuff like that that's like, oh, I
I
really like these socks or shorts or this
you
type of
know
shirt, a cotton shirt or a, you know.
that you could say this is one or you could say this is two, but I would actually, and it's not even really gear related, but it is probably my phone and some sort of
Yep.
headphones.
That
And the only
those two
reason for
different
that is
things. And
I
music.
like to listen to things. Yeah.
Yeah, my wife has to have music. So you're a music guy or a
I actually
podcast
listen
or
to podcasts or book
oh,
tapes.
are you
I don't do
are you going to
music.
listen to your own podcast when you go out on your next run when it's available?
I might, yeah. I might do that. I probably did that for the last one
I
as
love it.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm tracking. So we've got shoes,
Okay.
Brooks shoes. Those are important. You like those. Your phone, headphones, and then music or podcast. That's critical. Any other couple of things that like, are you a sunglasses guy? Are you
I've been a hat guy, so I have been
a
wearing
hat?
hats.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I used to never wear hats, and I don't even know. Well, actually, I think I kind of know why. So back again to Brendan Leonard and his
Yeah.
little whole thing. They had some hats that they were trying to sell a couple of years ago that say, I hate running. But in the middle of the H is a heart. And I bought one
Oh,
because it was with a book too. I probably even have it somewhere.
Lord.
Um, it's a book that's called I Hate Running.
Ugh. I do,
Anyways, I,
and I
I
will
I'm
have
looking over
folks. I
here.
will have
I'm
a link to their podcast. I
yeah.
do enjoy. You steered me onto it because you said you did it, and I've been listening to it. I do like it because it's exactly how they are. They're like, we love running, we hate running, and
Yeah.
that's the whole premise. Yeah.
So I got that hat and I started
Okay.
wearing it, and now I've gotten a collection of hats. And so yeah, I like running in hats. I actually ran in a hat today because it was gorgeous out today. Let's see. Another item I don't always use, but I like to carry unless it's going to be a really short run and maybe cool enough out that I don't need water. I'm one of those people I got hooked on carrying water and now I just do it, even though sometimes I
Yeah.
never even touch it. So I have one of those like flip belt water things.
Flip belt water thing. And Eric,
It's
for my listeners, is it water or is it electrolytes or is it scratch? What's in the bottle? Or is it
it's just
maybe it's bourbon? Some days
yeah,
I'm like, I need a little bourbon on my run. What's in the bottle?
it's just water.
It's just
I
water. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
probably another one of those things where I don't train with really anything other than water. I've used the gels and stuff before, the
Yeah.
Cliff Blocks, whatever, every now and then, especially when I was doing some longer ones. But last year, even when I trained a lot, I didn't use any of those.
My new favorite piece of gear, we were at REI getting some cross-country ski stuff for the skis that we're never going to use. They're going to be on Facebook Marketplace, folks, so I'll have a link. But my wife found these, is it Janji? I don't know. It's a very popular company that makes
Okay.
running apparel and stuff. These pants. And so
Ooh,
they're for like winter running, Eric. And I was like, I wore them this weekend to do a little run, but to go get our tickets, I did a little run and I put the little pants on. I'm like, oh my God, these are a game changer for winter running.
nice.
So when it gets like, below 20 and I've,
Yeah.
yeah, they're perfect. So love it. So I'm going to call it unless you've got some other gear stuff. I
No.
have a few other questions. What
Okay.
do you like to do besides running for a hobby or interest? Anything?
Not really. Mostly I don't have a lot of other free time, you know.
Kids, are they your
Kids
hobby?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're my
that's
hobby
that's
right
that's
now.
an
Yeah.
acceptable answer. I will accept that. And then, what's another podcast you listen to that is nothing to do with running?
Ooh, nothing to do with running.
Yeah.
I listened to this podcast called Hemispheric Views.
Oh,
It's three guys that now I know them. One of them's here in the US and the two others are from Australia. And it's just kind of a random podcast. They're just chatting about anything and everything. I mean, most of the time it's more technology based stuff,
yeah,
like Apple products and like software and stuff, but not really too much. Like it's kind of just random. And sometimes those are the best just to like listen to
yeah.
something that just kind of passes the time.
Great. My final question, I think I'm going to ask my guess is, I'm famous for running the 3,200-meter 2-mile race in high school, coming in nearly last every time. Like I said, I don't remember my times from high school, but I think it was 14 to 15 minutes. So we're going to go somewhere in there is my fastest 2-mile time. Eric, what is your fastest 3,200-meter 2-mile time that you can estimate? What do you think
I
your
don't even know
fastest?
if I ever ran a 3,200 in
But just
track.
like you're out on a 5K and you're blazing away, what do you think your fastest 2-mile time is? I
Like
mean, I
back
can
in
look it
high
up. I
school?
can look it up on Strava and I'll post it. So
Yeah. Um, I want to say back in high school, I probably could have done, I don't know. I don't know. That's a good
you
question.
look like a 12 minute to me, but
Maybe
12 to
I could have
13
maybe,
somewhere in there.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, yeah. You're
I only
fast.
ran 800s in track. But yeah, I don't know. I don't
Huh.
have a good answer. I'll find it
All
sometime.
right, that's fine. I'm gonna put it out there that I think he's
Okay.
probably a 12 to 13 minute, probably faster back in the day. But Eric, thank you so much for joining me. This was a hoot. I hope you had fun catching up. I know I'm no off the couch, but hopefully for your second podcast, do you see yourself doing like this semi-professionally, being a podcast guest or?
A podcast guest
Yeah,
semi-professionally.
yeah,
I mean, only if you call me up more, but
got
no,
it.
I've only really done podcasts. There's only, I mean, I can count the number of times on my hand, which is now four, that I've ever
You
done. So,
you've done four. I was just your second one. You've done
well,
four
so
podcasts?
I've
Oh
been
my
on
God.
four.
I had
I've been on
no
four, but they've all
idea.
been for
I
different
was kidding.
reasons.
You are a semi-professional podcast guest.
I,
Wow. I am even more honored, Eric, that you took the time to be on my humble little podcast, which I've rambled way too long for. So thanks, Eric. I appreciate it. And we'll keep in touch and hopefully get together and I'll try to hang on for like the first, 50 yards of a run with you and then watch you cross the finish line an hour and a
well,
half
now that
before
it's
me.
getting warmer out, we need to go hit some trails, right?
Let's hit it. Yeah, let's do it. I'll take you out to Murphy Hanrahan. Have you been out there down
I
in
have not.
Savage?
That's been on my
You,
list
you
because people
sh-
keep talking about it. I think you were
yeah.
talking about it once, and I was
We
like,
should.
gosh, that does seem like a good place to go.
Let's do this. Let's go out there, and I will bring the drone, and I will film you and make a film about Fast Eric. So
Or we'll just run around. I
we'll
get
just run around.
we yeah, we'll just run. It's fine.
All right. Sounds good, man. Thanks.
All right.
Nice to
Thank
catch
you.
up. Well, there you go. Episode 3 done and dusted. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Eric and hearing all about his running adventures. And if you did, I don't have to tell you what to do. Please go rate, review, follow. It really helps grow the podcast. And if you didn't, no worries, Eric and I will not take it personally. But go check out Chasing Cutoffs with Ben Mead. I promise you won't be disappointed. If you need some visual storytelling, well then check out my YouTube channel, Run Joey Run. Look for the film called 75 Miles an Hour, where you can see Eric and I together. And if you have a story that needs to be told, then send me a message on my Instagram. You'll find links to all of these, as well as a link to Eric's Strava, on the show notes. Well, that's it for now. Until next time, cheers and take care. Remember, keep running, keep walking. As Martin Luther King said, keep moving forward. Stay optimistic and just do what you do. We might not be as fast as Eric, but we'll get there. Keep going. We will cross that finish line.